Major General Allan Younger DSO OBE was born in 1919 and lived a long and storied life until 2010. More commonly referred to as Tony, he was born in Bristol, coming from a family steeped in the military, with both his father and grandfather having served as high-ranking members of the Royal Artillery. Tony Younger was educated at Gresham's Public School in Norfolk. He joined the ranks of the Corps of Royal Engineers as a second lieutenant on the 26th of January 1939. Following the outbreak of the Second World War later that year, Younger served as part of the British Expeditionary Force. As the Wehrmacht swept through Belgium and France, he was tasked with blowing up bridges and slowing their advance where possible. His story continues in his own words.
The Dieppe raid, which took place in August 42, almost 2 years before the D-Day landing. This was a disaster. Some Canadians and commandos landed at Dieppe. Their infantry, as they crossed the beaches, were mown down. Their tanks, when they landed, couldn't get off the beaches, and the few that did get off were all stopped by German anti-tank obstacles. And finally, the harbour was completely unusable. Now, as a result of this disaster, and I may say that the casualties were approaching 50%, which is very high, lessons were learnt. And these were major lessons which altered the shape of our planning for D-Day that was to come. The first lesson was that tanks must land with the infantry to prevent them being just mown down on the beaches as they had been at Dieppe. And the result of this was the invention of the DD tank. The DD tank had canvas side screens which could be lifted up so high enough so the tank could float in water. It also had two propellers at the back. The second lesson was that, as I said before, the tanks couldn't get off the beach. At Dieppe, there was just a plage running round the beach. That's a complete obstacle to a tank. So it was considered that engineers must land first in order to create gaps through or over whatever obstacles there were on the beaches. The third lesson was that the harbour, as I said, was unusable. The result of this was the invention of a so-called Mulberry Harbour, which was floated over just after D-Day and which enabled us to supply our troops. 79th Armoured Division was commanded by a character called Hobart. He was always known as Hobo. He was a tough man, but he'd been commissioned into the Royal Engineers, but he transferred to the Royal Tank Corps when that was formed in the First World War. A very experienced man who'd been through battle and had very forward-thinking ideas about how tanks should be used in warfare. He was given the job of training the DD tanks, of training flail tanks also, which were another way of getting through minefields. They had a spinning wheel in the front with chains, setting off mines, so that a gap could be made through a minefield. And then the Assault Brigade Royal Engineers. Now, the Assault Brigade was formed of 3 regiments, each of 4 squadrons, each of 4 troops, each of 6 tanks. When the regiments came to join 79th Armoured Division, they were inspected by General Sir Percy Hubbard. When he visited 5 assault regiments, he sacked both the colonel and the 4 squadron commanders. And it was as a result of this, I was ordered in to command 26th Squadron, which was one of the squadrons in 5 regiments. We formed up near the East Coast and started to train really hard. We were given Churchill tanks, not proper Averies, but just rather old Churchill tanks. I learnt that we were to land in front of one of the Canadian brigades, and I was, for the first time shown the big picture was to look like. The Second British Army was to land in 3 different divisions, 50 Div on the left as we look at it, just north of Bayeux, 3rd Canadian Division just north of Courseulles, and 3rd British Division just north of Caen. In addition, there will be an airborne drop by British and American airborne troops on either side of the landings on the flank. I knew, therefore, after this visit to 3rd Canadian Division, exactly where on the coast of Europe we were going to land. However, I was not allowed to tell anybody in my squadron, absolute top secret. However, my task was made a lot easier by the issue of special maps, which I received a number of, which showed the area we were to land on, and every indication that they were maps of France had been removed. All the place names, river names had all been removed, and British, Canadian, and American names put in. So I could not say that we would land in front of Grey-sur-Mer and Courseulles-sur-Mer astride the River Searle, but I could say, pointing to the map, we would land in front of Tooting and Montreal astride the Rio Grande. And this on the map showed my officers exactly the sort of landing that we would have to make. We then started to receive our new tank, which had petards on the first time we'd seen them. And finally, towards the end of May, we were moved down to Gosport, completely sealed in there. No one was allowed to leave, where we had to waterproof our tanks and prepare for embarkation. 2-6 Squadron was going to be completely split for the landing. 1 and 2 troops were on this side of the River Searle, which is quite a sizable river, and 3 and 4 troops on this side. This side had a big plage, which obviously needed assault bridges dropping on it. This side was sand dune, but I had to select which side I was going to be with, and I could see this was going to be the most difficult side, so I decided to land with them. And I put Dickie Bowes, who commanded 3 troops, in command of the other 2 troops landing in front of Courseulles. We were pulled out in our landing craft into Southampton water. We could still exchange messages because I'd insisted that all our officers and sergeants should learn semaphore. This was largely because of wireless silence, which of course we always had, it was always enforced before an attack. But also I realized that there would be wireless silence on board these landing craft. However, we could semaphore to each other, and we did too, a lot. Finally, we got the order to go early on the morning of the 5th of June. We set off across the channel. Our landing craft in 2 lines. The one I was on was the front right-hand one. In front of us, there was nothing but 1 naval frigate with its guns all stripped for action. Otherwise, it was a clear sea in front. But behind, as far as the eye could see, was this line of landing craft, all waiting to follow us onto the shore. Was woken up early next morning by gunfire. I got up, had a quick shave and dressed, and went up on the bridge again. And there was the coast of France in view, with every form of ship firing at it. We passed under a cruiser just as it let off its 6-inch guns, deafened us. I watched another landing craft with multiple rocket discharges on it, slowly going along the coast and firing off belts of rockets. Then as we got in closer, a landing craft next door to us lowered its ramp and the first DG tank came off. To my horror, a wave splashed over it and it sank. Nobody got out. Mercifully, the skipper of that craft raised the ramp and went into the shore and lowered it on the shore so that the tanks could not bother with their flotation, but go straight in. I should say that the landing craft I was on had engine trouble during the night, and so we were not then the first to land. In fact, we were the last. The flotilla commander had to order the other landing craft to overtake us. We came in towards the beach. The beach was covered in obstacles. Our obstacles all had anti-tank mines on them. We came into land. There were bodies on the beaches. Canadians, I suppose, had landed. And I could see our Avres all bunched up in one of the exits. We came off. I had a flail tank on board. That came off first. And we were going through the shallow water towards the shore. I was looking out of the top of the tank, trying to see what on earth was happening. A lot of smoke around.
Thank you for watching our video. Please like and subscribe to help support the Royal Engineers Museum and visit our website for further details. Our very best to everyone, everywhere.